Hi everyone, welcome. This is the psychology informational session, and we're here to answer any questions you all have. First, we're going to introduce ourselves, but first I wanted just to congratulate you all on your admission. It gets harder every year, and we're most excited that you all have chosen to join us here in the psych department, and always like to celebrate our transfer students. I know you all have worked really hard to get here. So I'll kick it off here. My name is Paige. I use she or hers pronouns. This is Sammy the Slug, the mascot, joining me today. I'm a proud UCSC alum, per the slug up my work desk. I actually didn't study psych though. I double majored in literature and education, went on to get my master's in higher education, and now I'm a psychology undergraduate advisor back at UCSC. So that's my role, and I'll kick off the majority of the presentation today, and then I'll revisit you all at the end. But I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Julia, to introduce herself to you all. But welcome again, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name's Julia Wanlin. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm also one of your psychology undergraduate advisors. I also graduated from UCSC with a degree in psychology. And I'll pass it to Rebecca.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca or Rebecca. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the newest psychology undergraduate advisor. I started like a month and a half ago, so I'm super excited to be here. I am also a proud alum of UCSC. I graduated in spring of 2023, so not all that long ago. And I majored in intensive psychology and had a minor in theater. And I will pass it to Ryan.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Mulligan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also a psychology alum from UCSC and one of your undergraduate advisors here in the psych department. I'm glad to meet all of you.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I'll mention a couple more things before we get going with our presentation here. One, notice the surfing slug. I'm very proud of it, so take it in. Think of it as you will. And secondly, we may or may not have a lot of time for questions today. So we ask that you please use the Q&A feature. That makes it a little bit easier for us to track and type questions and type answers as we go. Hopefully we'll have 5 to 10 minutes at the end to address some questions, but if not, we'll go over drop-in hours and how to schedule an appointment, and we'll make sure that you all get all your questions addressed at some point. But we'll try to move as quickly as we can through the information, just making sure we're hitting everything we need to. Awesome. So we can keep going here. There we are again, in case you forgot what we looked like staring at us. I'll introduce a couple more folks on this slide. So we have Wendy Kuzunoki. She's kind of in the background of the presentation today, but she is an integral part of our team. She supervises all of us, and she's also the assistant manager in our department. So you'll see her at our office doing a bunch of different things, but she's a main component of our team. We also have Carrie Walker, who's our field study director. Field study is an opportunity that you all may want to pursue as transfer students, just because you all are kind of in that junior standing area. So that's something you may want to consider, and we'll explain exactly what that is a little bit later on, but that's a really cool opportunity in the psych department. So that's our team. So just a bit of an overview here. So first, we're going to talk about the majors in our department. You all should be fairly familiar with these because you are proposed in either psychology or cognitive science. Otherwise, you might be in the wrong place. But we'll kind of go over the path to declaration. I know some of you may have submitted your major declaration petitions already. We just ask that you don't do that yet because we can't declare you until you officially start coursework. So we can't really do anything with that other than leave it pending or deny it and have you submit another one. So we'll explain exactly what that entails. Declaration, like I said, what the process of that is, it's fairly simple. And we'll go over academic plans, what those look like, and how to request one. We'll talk about enrollment, probably what you all care most about in this presentation. Enrollment for your first quarter as transfers in our department looks a little bit different. So we'll talk to you all about what that looks like, and hopefully it makes it a little bit more streamlined this first quarter to alleviate some stress for you all. We'll be talking about some enrollment tips and tricks. And then lastly, some more logistical information about our department, services we offer, and some campus-wide resources as well. Cool. So like I said, you all should be fairly familiar with these majors, I hope. But we do offer psychology and cognitive science in our department, general and intensive psych within our psychology major, which my colleagues will review the differences between those in a couple minutes. But psychology study the human mind, development and functions. You'll notice how we organize our coursework, that we have main subfields in our department. So we have developmental, social, and cognitive psych. And then in addition to that, you also have opportunities to take coursework in clinical psych, research methods, and independent study options that include that field study opportunity as well. Cognitive science is a little bit more interdisciplinary. However, you could certainly supplement your psychology major with additional coursework as well. But cognitive science is more interdisciplinary as a major, and you're often double dipping in a lot of different departments. So what that kind of looks like is study of thought, memory, perception, language, artificial intelligence, and the mind. So you can see how many different departments we're looking at when we're talking about those topics. So that's going to include obviously psychology, that's going to include philosophy, anthropology, linguistics, computer science, and others as well. So that's really a great opportunity to explore other departments while also doing a lot of psychology-based coursework. So those are our majors in our department. So a little bit of a roadmap today. First, like I said, we're going to talk about requirements to declare. You all probably have done those already. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been admitted, or you're in progress of finishing one of them right now. We'll talk about how to declare, like I mentioned before. We'll talk about Psych 100 and enrollment today. Psych 100 will set you up to take the rest of your upper division coursework. And we'll talk about what enrollment's going to entail for fall. And again, that's going to be different than other quarters. So it's important to, if you forget everything else from this presentation, just make sure to pay attention to the part where we talk about what fall enrollment's going to look like for you all. We'll also talk about the senior seminar requirement. That's something for a little bit later, but it's not designed to be another upper division course. That's designed to be one of your upper division courses. And then lastly, the goal is for you to graduate. Woohoo, there's Sammy the Slug with his cap and gown. So that's part of our job is to help you all get to that finish line. I remember walking the stage very vividly, and I want you all to experience that as well. So we're here to support you all as you go. But I will go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Julia to start talking about our psychology major.
All right, so as Paige mentioned, all of you are coming into UCSC as a proposed major. You'll eventually need to declare your major. You won't be able to do that just yet, but starting the first day of fall quarter, you can begin that process. The deadline to do that is by the end of your second quarter, but the earlier you do it, the better. So for psychology, there are 3 requirements in order to declare your major. They are pre-calculus, intro to psychology, and statistics. We do require a grade of B- or better in intro to psychology and statistics. Coming in as a proposed psychology major, you should have already completed these 3 requirements or have them in progress over summer. And yeah, if you have any questions about any of these requirements, feel free to email us. These are the rest of the psychology major requirements. So we have 2 concentrations, the general and intensive concentrations. Intensive requires a little bit more coursework and includes some research or field study experience as well. So in addition to the 3 requirements on the last slide, there's 2 other lower division requirements that psychology majors have to complete. They're Psych 10, Intro to Developmental Psychology, and Psych 20, Cognition Fundamental Theories. You may have completed one or both of these at your community college, but if not, you have plenty of time here to get those completed. Moving on to your upper division coursework, which includes courses numbered 100 or higher. These courses can't be satisfied through a community college since community college courses are considered lower division. The first course is Psych 100. All psychology and cognitive science students have to take this course. In addition to Psych 100, there's 6 other psychology courses you have to take across different subfields of psychology. One of those 6 courses will be your senior seminar, which Rebecca will talk about a little bit more later on. And then the last upper division course that you'll have to take is an upper division outside course. So that's just a upper division course from a department outside of the psychology department. And there's an approved list of the specific departments that will satisfy those courses. And then for intensive, all of these general psychology major requirements still apply. You just have to do 3 additional courses. So those 3 additional courses are Psych 181, which would be data analysis, or Psych 182, which is qualitative research methods. And then you must complete 2 quarters of one of our educational opportunities, and I will go into more depth on those on the next slide. So these are the 3 options for our educational opportunities. They're the field study program, research, or a senior thesis. The field study program is an opportunity where students can apply to get connected to different internship opportunities in Santa Cruz to gain a more hands-on experience in the field. Some examples of internship opportunities could be working as a mental health worker, a teacher's aide, a hotline responder, a peer advisor, and the list goes on. Psych 194 is our research option, and that entails getting connected with a research lab opportunity on campus and working alongside either a professor or a grad student in their lab. And then lastly, Psych 195, senior thesis. It takes research a little bit further, and it's an opportunity for you to conduct your own research under the guidance of a faculty member. Any psychology or cognitive science students can participate in these opportunities, but 2 quarters are required for intensive psychology majors. And this slide just goes into field study a little bit more in the application process. So field study is a 2-quarter commitment, whether you're a general psychology major, intensive psychology major, or cognitive science major. So for those of you who are interested in pursuing the field study program, one important thing to keep in mind is that you do need to attend an info session in order to get the link to apply to the program. So on this link on the slide, it'll take you to a website with more information about our field study program. We don't have the info session dates for this upcoming fall just yet, but they will be updated once we have them. And with that, I'll pass it to Rebecca to talk about cognitive science.
Okay, so cognitive science has some slightly different requirements to declare, which are calculus, programming, statistics, and Psych 20, which is cognition fundamental theories. So cognitive science students are expected to know a higher level of math compared to psychology students. So you'll need to take calculus rather than pre-calculus. And because of this, you can still satisfy it through AP exams, but with slightly higher scores that are listed here on the slide. And as a very interdisciplinary major, cognitive science also has a programming requirement that can be satisfied through a few different courses or a test out exam. The statistics requirement for cognitive science can be satisfied through the same courses or AP test score as the psychology major. And Psych 20 is a specific course that you'll need to take as a 4th requirement. It's basically an intro course to cognitive psychology. And within all 4 of these cognitive science requirements, students must have a GPA of 2.8 or higher, which is basically an average of B or B- grades in these 4 classes. And we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for cognitive science, the 4 courses that I mentioned as requirements to declare the major are the only 4 specific lower division requirements you will need to take for the major. After that, and I know many of you are coming in with several of those completed. So after that, you'll be taking Psych 100, which is our research methods class. And this is kind of like the gateway class to all other upper division psych courses. These other upper division courses include a set of cognitive core requirements, which entail taking 3 courses from the 4 areas listed on the slide. After that, you are also required to take 3 cognitive psychology electives, which allow for more flexibility since you can choose from a longer list. And like psychology, you'll need to take a senior seminar, which we'll talk about in a second. So one of your 3 upper division cognitive science electives will also be a senior seminar. And as an interdisciplinary major, you'll also have a set of interdisciplinary elective requirements in which you choose to specialize in an emphasized group within the field. The different groups we have are evolution, artificial intelligence, and human-computer interaction, linguistics, and philosophy. You will need to take 4 interdisciplinary elective courses in total for the major, and at least 3 of them should be within your chosen emphasis group. In addition, one of your interdisciplinary electives should also be an upper division course. Since most are likely to be lower division, they are good courses to prioritize taking early on in your time at UCSC and kind of like intersperse with other upper division major requirements. And the list of major requirements and worksheets can also be found on our website, which can help you outline which interdisciplinary electives you take and when. So now we will talk about the senior seminar requirement. Thank you. So we've mentioned the senior seminar requirement for both cognitive science and psychology, and to go into it a bit more, this requirement is also tied to your GE requirements, specifically the DC or disciplinary communication requirement. It's important to note that registration for senior seminars is different than from registration for our other courses. To enroll in a senior seminar, students must complete the senior seminar survey by the given deadline. This survey is emailed prior to enrollment to declared students in either the cognitive science or psychology major who will be at a senior standing for that quarter, which starts at 135 units. In the survey, you'll be able to list your preferences for seminars, and we will respond with a permission code that you can use to enroll in one of your listed choices. And please keep in mind the senior seminar is not an additional course requirement to complete the cognitive science or psychology majors. It's important to note that one of the upper division psych courses required to complete your major needs to be your senior seminar, and that's one of the upper division electives for the cognitive science majors. And we can go to the next slide. So as you take all of these courses of major requirements, you'll also want to be aware of our pass, no pass policy for grading options. To reiterate, we require letter grades for most courses you're using to declare your major. For example, in the cognitive science major, you need the GPA of at least 2.8. But for upper division requirements and all other requirements that are not declaration requirements, they can be taken on a pass, no pass basis. All courses are automatically set up to be taken for a letter grade, which are A, B, C, D, or F, when you enroll, but you can opt to switch it to pass, no pass as your grading option. This means that if you get a C or higher, you will receive a pass grade that does not positively or negatively affect your GPA. It doesn't change it. And the deadline to change your letter grade option is always around the end of instruction and before finals. So you'll have time during the quarter to assess whether you want something to be graded on a letter basis or pass no pass basis. However, please note that no more than 25% of your credits earned at UCSC may be graded on a pass no pass basis. So you must consider the courses and how many courses to take as pass no pass carefully. And this is also something you may want to keep in mind and consider if you are interested in applying to graduate programs. Okay, so if you sent us your unofficial transcripts, you should receive a personalized enrollment email this week on August 2nd, which is Friday. We'll send you confirmation of the major requirements you've completed through transfer credit, as well as 2 permission codes that you can use to enroll in 2 assigned psych courses. With these permission codes, you'll be able to skip the waitlist and directly and automatically enroll in courses that may say that they're full, since we reserve seats that only transfer students have access to. So when you get this code is specifically for you and will put you right into a seat in the class. And the email that we'll send out by Friday will receive instructions for how to use these permission codes. And we can go to the next slide. So these permission codes for enrollment are only given during your first quarter as a transfer student. After this, for winter 2024 and beyond, you'll enroll in courses on your own during your assigned enrollment appointment. So you'll receive 2 permission codes from us now, and do not expect that or base your enrollment off of that in the future. However, there is another time that we give out permission codes. These are available only to declared junior and senior students who are unable to enroll in any upper division psych courses on their own during enrollment time. So we send out a permission code survey to students through email during the enrollment period of each quarter. And when we do, you can fill it out to request a permission code. Declared students with junior standing will be able to request up to 1 permission code through the survey. And once you have senior standing, which again is 135 units, you can request up to 2 permission codes if you're unable to enroll in any psych courses on your own. Because of this, it's important to make sure you're always checking your email and staying on top of any information we send out during enrollment. And if we could go to the next slide, we want to give some enrollment advice. So if a majority of psychology courses are filled during your enrollment appointment in the future, aside from filling out a permission code survey, you can always consider taking courses to fulfill your major requirements outside of our department. Cognitive science students can take interdisciplinary elective courses that we talked about, and psychology students can take that upper division outside course requirement. You also have a 180 unit requirement to graduate, which our major requirements alone do not bring you to. Especially if you're coming in with an IGETC, you'll likely have a good amount of space left to take other classes in order to reach those 180 units. So with this, you could continue, or you could consider pursuing a minor, learning a language, taking courses offered by the colleges, studying abroad, or just exploring different interests that you have in different subjects. So to talk a little bit more about fall enrollment, your slug orientation course in college should have talked about some of these resources, but here they are again for you to review to make sure you're prepared to enroll in courses in a couple of weeks. This will all be especially helpful in future quarters when we no longer give out those 2 permission codes. So keep these in mind, and we'll revisit them later in this presentation as well. So now we are going to move on to declaring your major and talking about academic planning. The very first step, as Julia talked a little bit about earlier, is declaring your major. So for most of you, if you're here, that means you've met the requirements and are transferring those declaration requirement classes already. If this is the case for you, you can declare as soon as you begin attending classes in the fall. If you are, however, one of the many cognitive science transfers that still needs Psych 20, don't worry. You should be getting a permission code for this class for fall and can plan on declaring as soon as your grades come in at the end of fall quarter. To do this, please follow the major declaration process details, which are available on our website. You just need to look up like UCSC psychology declaration, and there's a whole list of the steps to do there. And you are required to declare your major by the end of your second quarter, which is winter quarter of 2024, or winter quarter 2025. For those of you that are not currently eligible to declare, you do need to make sure that you take or retake the requirements by the end of fall so that you can make sure that you're declaring by winter. For the psychology major, you'll also be asked to select your catalog year and concentration, which is general or intensive. So make sure to review these options before declaring. And please note, you're always welcome to change from general to intensive or vice versa. And you can do so by emailing us. And with that, I will pass it to Ryan to talk a little bit more about academic plans.
Thank you. Should I mute myself? I'll use this also as a reminder. We are recording this presentation, and also we'll be publishing the slides that you're all seeing. Some of these slides have some valuable links on them, including this one, that you should plan to take advantage of. That being said, we'll start talking about academic plans and worksheets. You can find those on our website. You can also find them on this particular slide. Academic plans lay out recommended classes you should be taking during your 4 years here, or in your case 2, to make progress towards finishing your major. There are sample academic plans available online on our website. Like I said, you can look at them and see generally what your declaration requirements are, and how that can be completed in the next 2 years, as well as the course plan for how, that follows declaration and your last bit of time here. Once you complete the declaration process, you will then receive an official signed academic plan catered to your specific needs for your remaining time here. The signed academic plan is your official plan that only your advisors have access to edit. You will be able to view it, but that's about it. However, you are more than welcome to make a copy of that for yourself and edit that copy as you see fit. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So here is an example of one of our general psychology academic plans. Please note that the courses are wherever they're located don't necessarily reflect when you have to take these courses. They're just consider them placeholders for requirements that eventually need to be completed. For example, as a transfer student, it is likely that we'll be adjusting this to move Psych 100 to this quarter, for example, since that's when we're hoping you'll be taking it. Again, you can make a copy of these plans, either the one that we generate for you or the ones you find on our website, and edit them as you see fit. Or you could ask a peer advisor to create a personal plan with you. Okay. As incoming transfer students, we recommend taking Psych 100 in your first quarter, and you will be given a permission code for this. It is, as been described a couple of times now, your first step towards working on your upper division coursework. It will be required before you can do any other upper division coursework aside from the potential second code to give you this quarter. Yeah, you can take advantage of that code during your assigned enrollment window. Psych 100 is a research methods course. And even if you have taken a research methods course in the past, we get this question a lot, you are still required to take our version of this of the class here at UCSC. Unlike the courses that you would have taken in the past, first off, it is upper division. It is 7 credits, which means there's more hours of work involved. It qualifies as your disciplinary communications GE, or at least half of it, alongside your senior seminar. In short, it means it's a little bit more intensive. You'll have tests that cover a lot of the topics that you might already be familiar with, but you will be doing an IRB approved research project, a presentation, and writing a research paper, which you may not have done already. If you have let's see, if you have already taken a research methods course, you will be eligible for a permission code for a second upper division psych course, but those will be distributed at random. You won't have a choice. We recommend you take advantage of that second course, but you do not have to take it. I would strongly recommend you to take advantage of the Psych 100 option that we give you. Let's see. Yes, for planning beyond this first quarter, it might depend on whether or not you have completed Psych 10 or Psych 20 at your community college. These are both required ultimately for the psych major, as they are prerequisites for developmental and cognitive subfield courses that you would absolutely have to complete. So those should become somewhat of a priority for you. If you are a cognitive science major, you can expect a permission code for Psych 20 if you need it this fall quarter. Otherwise, just make sure that you absolutely are enrolling it before you'll be eligible to declare. And the only other option I would recommend for this fall, perhaps, is considering your upper division outside course options. Yeah, and we could talk about that. Let's go ahead and go to the next plan, our cognitive science plan. So this is what our academic plan looks like for cognitive science. Again, everything's located sort of as a placeholder. It's just sort of designed for the most common usage, but things will move around as you actually, are able to enroll in certain things and based on what's actually left after that. As an incoming transfer student, we recommend taking Psych 100 the first quarter. An I code will be given to you, and you will be given, again, a code for Psych 20 if you need it. If you haven't completed that at a community college, as most of you have not. I cannot stress enough the need to take this because you need to do it and be eligible to declare. Okay. We do recommend thinking about beginning your interdisciplinary coursework. Those are the 4 courses that we talked about that are outside of our department in areas like evolution, AI, philosophy, and linguistics. Review the list of qualifying courses and see if you can decide what elective group you would like to pursue. And once you've decided, see what kind of courses happen to be available this quarter, so you can start working on that. Okay. Both majors need to be mindful of a couple things during the next couple of years. You will need to complete a senior seminar, as mentioned. For psychology, this will count as one of your additional psych courses and will need to be in a unique subfield from the other additional psych courses. So, for example, you are required to take 3 primary subfield courses in developmental, cognitive, and social. You can either take your additional psych courses can either be another cognitive, developmental, or social, or some combination therein with a clinical thrown in. And of those 3, one of them should be a senior seminar. Okay. For cognitive science, your senior seminar will count as one of your 3 cognitive electives. So any one of those 3 can be your seminar. And you are eligible to take any seminar, whether it's cognitive or otherwise. It will also be important to note that you will have to collect 180 credits. We've talked about this already. So there's a lot of white space on these plans, you'll probably notice, that you should expect to fill with elective coursework, potentially maybe GEs that you might still be missing. And a lot of you are asking about adding minors, and so that would certainly fill that space. Okay. We can move on to talk about My UCSC. Thank you. All right. So My UCSC, this is your portal where you can see most of the information you need to know about your academic record, your schedule, your enrollment dates, to-do lists, things like that. Here's a view of your student center specifically. Please make sure to check it, see if there's any tasks or to-do lists that you still need to complete before enrollment weeks. As they may result in an enrollment hold. You won't be assigned an enrollment date until you've completed everything on your to-do list. Yeah, so for those of you who are struggling with that, I would double check that to-do list. And you're going to need to be able to enroll during the regular enrollment week in order to actually get into the classes you need. Another important area to look into, again, enrollment dates. This is an area that I would get familiar with in general. You may not be getting emails about your enrollment dates every quarter, but if you're curious as to when that is, I would just make a habit of double checking your My UCSC student portal, because those will be available for you there, at least when they are assigned. If you have questions about enrollment, please reach out to your college or major advisors in order to get early enrollment appointment dates for this upcoming fall, if necessary. You may make sure to complete part 1 and 2 of your SLUG orientation, and make sure you've submitted your test scores and transcripts for admissions. Okay, let's talk about a degree progress report. So if you look inside your student portal, there's a little drop-down area that says other academic information. Within that little drop-down, there is a thing that says a degree progress report. That's the view we have. It's also the view you have. I think you also have a degree progress report on the primary sidebar on the left. And let's just go ahead and go to the next page and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what your degree progress report is going to look like. Somewhat a different sort of version of your academic planner, I guess. This is just one that you absolutely cannot edit. The only people that edit this are essentially your professors who submit their grades and the registrar if necessary, and I guess us if we need to make corrections. So it has everything, including the courses that you should have completed, as well as those that you still need, and any sufficient test scores that you may be bringing in. As a transfer student, know that some of your previous coursework is probably still being transferred in and processed by admissions. So if it looks like it's completely empty and you're missing everything right now, don't fret just yet. Expect maybe as far as to the end of the fall quarter for everything to be completely updated in here. At that point, if there's still something missing, feel free to check with us and we could see about making the corrections as necessary. Okay. We can go to the last slide. This talks about in progress coursework. So this is a new feature, whereas as opposed to just simply saying with a green check mark that you've completed something and a scary red X that you haven't completed something, if you've enrolled in something that you still need, you'll get a little yellow diamond that basically says it's in progress. And this is sort of helpful. It also allows us to to add certain courses if needed that you might be taking, say, I don't know, elsewhere, basically. And that way we can keep track of your progress. It's a little less intimidating this way. If you're at all scared or worried about what your degree progress report says and what it all means, feel free to make an appointment or come to drop-ins and ask us. Alrighty. And I believe this is when I get to send it back to Rebecca to talk about summer session.
Okay, so as you start to think about your own plan, just know that in the future, you'll be able to take courses over the summer as well. We'll also offer both lower division and upper division courses in our department each summer, and we typically offer the same courses every summer, so you can check out the current summer session course schedule to get a better idea of what we'll be offering in future summer sessions. And please note that summer session course lists become available as early as December in case you need to plan ahead for housing or other accommodations. You can do that starting in December. And we will now take a look at those enrollment resources again. So here again is the the list of enrollment resources that we looked at earlier. There are general resources in addition to enrollment resources specific to our department. We have a frequently asked questions page with more information on finding interdisciplinary electives and outside courses that are offered on our enrollment assistance page. We also post our tentative psychology course list for each academic year, which you can take a look at if you want to plan for future enrollment during the 2024-2025 academic year. And now we'll take a look at some advising options and resources. So our advising team, great resource for your success. You can meet with advisors to make an academic plan that can help you plan out the next 2 years, along with planning out any double majors or minors or just general interests that you plan on pursuing. So there are several ways you can receive advising through our office. You can email us at sciadv@ucsc.edu, and we will respond within 1 to 3 business days to any questions that you send us. Peer advisors can also be reached through email at scipeer@ucsc.edu. You can ask more general questions to our peer advisors, while more technical and specific questions can be sent to sciadv@ucsc.edu. Peer advisors also offer drop-in advising hours for more immediate assistance. They are able to assist you with graduation checks, academic plans, enrollment advice, and other questions you might have. And they are also a great resource if you want to learn more about experiences in different classes or programs. They're generally juniors and seniors, so they have a bit of experience at UCSC. For deeper conversations or more complicated questions, staff advisors such as Ryan, Julia, Paige, and myself are available for appointments through Slug Success. With staff advisors, you can talk about petitions, transfer and study abroad courses, enrollment assistance, etc. We love meeting with you and hope that you'll set up an appointment with us. And with that, I will pass it back to Paige to talk about more resources for your success.
Awesome. Thank you to my team for getting us through all that important information there. And thank you all for using the Q&A feature. It just makes it a little bit easier for us to track. We are looking really good on time. We just have a few more slides ahead of us. So at the end, we should have time for a live Q&A. So at that time, if anyone wants to be brave and unmic themselves and ask a question live, feel free. And we'll also, I like to end these by just saying why we chose UCSC and why we love it so much. So I'm going to hold off on questions for just 1 second. I'm just going to get through these last few, and then Emma, we'll start with you. Okay. Sounds good. All right, so these are kind of campus-wide resources that my good friend Sammy and I want to tell you about. And a lot of these are things that students don't even know exist until after they graduate. So we want to tell you all now because you have the opportunity to take advantage of all these while you're here as a student. So first of all, there's beautiful McHenry Library. That one's kind of hard to miss because it's this giant building on campus. That picture doesn't even do it justice. It's absolutely beautiful. It's in a central area on campus, completely surrounded by trees, as is most of our campus. Kind of the unspoken rule at McHenry is the higher you go, the quieter it gets. So if you like some more noise when you're doing work, you might like the cafe level on the first floor, get a smoothie and do your work there. Or if you're like me and you can't get any work done unless it's like totally silent, you can head up to the fourth floor at the top of the trees, and that's totally silent. There's desktop computers you can utilize. If you have a research project, there's a lot of great resources to utilize over at McHenry Library, and staff there that are well versed in accessing those resources. And wonderful study areas as well. You can also rent study rooms at McHenry Library. So if you're in a club and you want to have a club meeting, you can use that space. If you have a group project, maybe you're working on your Psych 100 group project, and you want to rent a study room, that's an example, or you can rent one just for yourself, to do your homework or study for finals. Next up is Learning Support Services, one of my favorite resource centers on campus. This is where all of our tutoring resources are housed. So I had this weird expectation of myself when I came into college that I needed to figure everything out for myself and I shouldn't have to use tutoring. I'm not quite sure where that expectation came from, but I quickly learned that it was something I needed to utilize, especially because I decided to take statistics as a literature and education student to help with my graduate school applications to prove I could do statistics, which I could, but that was the hardest class I've ever done because it's out of my kind of comfort level. So I attended MSI, which is Modified Supplemental Instruction, really fancy name for another banana slug tutoring other students. So this is a student that's gotten a B or better in the course in the past, and now is pursuing this job opportunity, which is a job opportunity for you all if you're interested in to be an MSI tutor. So for courses that have those tutors, they'll introduce themselves at the beginning of the quarter and say like, hi, my name is, these are when my tutoring hours are, and you can attend those, and those are totally free. You can also sign up for small group tutoring at the beginning of each quarter. And that's one of my favorite memes on the side there, the essay thing. So if you're struggling with getting to the word count on your essay, you can utilize our writing center. And they're really great for editing. And, you know, it's really hard to write at a college level. It's definitely a learning process. So we have a lot of folks that are there to support you as well. Awesome. So next we have our Disability Resource Center, the DRC. This one's pretty close to my heart as I did utilize DRC accommodations. So the purpose of this, the purpose of the DRC is to provide equal educational access. And they do that by providing a variety of accommodations. So for example, for me, mine was more mental health based. So my accommodations included alternative testing spaces. So when I was in that Stat 5 class, for example, the very large lecture hall contributed a lot to my anxiety. So I was able to take my exam in a much quieter room elsewhere on campus with like 2 to 3 other students, which definitely aided in my success and reduced my anxiety level. There's also extra testing time. If a student has some sort of physical disability, we have our disability van service, and there's a huge list of accommodations. One thing I encourage you all to work on right now, if you think you do want to utilize the DRC and you think you are going to need accommodations for something, get those set up right now over the summer. And the reason I say that is because a lot of students utilize the DRC, and sometimes they can get kind of backlogged, and it can be a bit of a waiting game once the quarter starts for those accommodations to be in place. And the last thing you want is to not have them in place when you actually need them. So reaching out to them right now would be the best thing to do to get those set up. Next is the Educational Opportunity Program, or EOP. Those of you that are in EOP probably already know that. And this program is for students that come from historically low socioeconomic backgrounds. And it's a really great community building space, and a lot of great students and staff work over there. A lot of students that are also EOP students serve as peer advisors over at EOP. And they have a lot of resources, including a really cool textbook lending library, because textbooks can be pretty pricey. So that's a great resource to kind of mitigate that financial barrier. UCSC basic needs. The thing I like to approach as an advisor, and I think I could speak for my team as well, is y'all are human beings before students. Sometimes we can lose track of that in the thick of studying when we're like, oh, right, this might take precedent over this. So UCSC Basic Needs has a bunch of different things housed under it, including food security services. So we have a variety of food pantries on campus. That's also a really cool volunteer opportunity if you're interested in. You can volunteer at the food pantries. That includes health and wellness, financial security resources, emergency financial support, whether it's like gift cards to local grocery stores in emergency situations or emergency off-campus housing. If there's some sort of issue with on-campus housing or some other issue, you can go to them and speak to them if it's an emergency. But also we have just general resources on a daily basis, like those food pantries. And then we also have counseling and psychological services, or CAPS, another one very close to my heart, kind of adjacent to the psychology department. Obviously, we're two very different things, but I had the privilege of being a CAPS peer educator, which is something you all can look into. And you have the opportunity to work directly with the staff over at CAPS to support students further. But this is where you get all of your mental health support on campus. So this includes licensed therapists. You can schedule appointments. They have a really nice office over at the health center on campus. We also have licensed psychiatrists, and we also host kind of group events, self-care events, and also kind of group talk settings for specific demographics of students that share similar identities. We also host something called Let's Talk, and that's an informal form of therapy. So it's not actually therapy, it's just kind of a meeting spot where you can learn more about CAPS and kind of figure out if that's something you want to pursue later on. Awesome. And one that's probably more relevant for you all is STARS, which is Services for Transfer, Reentry, and Resilient Scholars. So you can see where this isn't really news to you all, but STARS has moved. They're now in the location it's pointing at right now. But they're over at Bay Tree, which is in a central area on our campus right next to Bay Tree, which is our bookstore. And this is a great space for our transfer students. There's free printing. There's a great study space. You can connect with transition mentors, fellow transfer students that are kind of settled and know their way around campus and have a good idea of what services to access, and how to kind of make the most of your time there. There is that lounge, as I mentioned, which is a great space. Free printing, testing materials, another food pantry over there. You can reserve the study room as well. So I encourage you all to seek that out. It's a really great group of people that work over there and work really hard to support our transfer students. Awesome. So some logistical information here. Our office is located in Social Sciences 2, room 273. So you all are probably like, what the heck does that mean? But this is kind of a central area of campus. It's where College 9 and John R. Lewis are. So it's one of the academic buildings right behind there. We are virtual over the summer. However, when fall quarter starts, we will be in the office 4 days a week. Someone will be in the office 4 days a week. Friday, we're always remote, but you will have the option to come meet with us in person, which we absolutely love. And that will be the space to do that. SciEDV, as Rebecca mentioned before, this is what you'll want to reach out to us with. We do have this is a public university, so you can Google Paige Anderson UCSC and my email will come up affiliated with UCSC. But please don't email me using that one because I'll just be forwarding it to SciEDV. And we're more likely to see it quicker if you email SciEDV. So we won't be responding from our personal emails, if that makes sense. You can, if you're communicating with me about something after an appointment, you can say, hi, Paige, to SciEDV, and I'll answer that one. And SciPeer, the same thing. They just don't work over the summer, our peer advisors. So once fall resumes, that email will revamp. And then, of course, we have our advising page, which is where this recording will live once we get that set up, including the slides as well. And then I'll leave you all with a few tips here. Check your email. Essential. Please keep that in mind. Actually, if you forget everything else, remember that. Check your UCSC email and please only email us using your UCSC email. As much as I'd love to receive an email from, I love bunnies 428 or something. We want to communicate with you all through your UCSC email and save that personal email for family and friends. And like I mentioned, email all of us using SciEDV and all of us are going to be able to see that email. So you're more likely to get a response quicker if you email the SciEDV. We also have quarterly psych newsletters. So that will just be a recap of what was going on in department quarterly and what to look forward to coming up. You can also schedule appointments with us, which is my favorite part of our job. So you can see that small screenshot there, which includes our alpha split. The alpha split is just how we kind of answer emails. If you are able to meet with the person that fits in your alpha split, awesome, but you can meet with any of us. So if for whatever reason you like some more consistency or something and you've met with one of us before, you could continue meeting with us. Just keep in mind that our specific availability may not work for you every quarter. So we each host our appointments on specific days. Rebecca's on Monday, Julia's on Tuesday, Ryan's on Wednesday, and I'm on Thursdays. And they open up 2 weeks out when that day comes up. So for example, tomorrow, my next 2 weeks of availability will reopen. And I still have spots for this Thursday and next Thursday. So if you want to schedule an appointment with me, there's still time if you're not sick of me talking by now. Visit TA office hours and faculty office hours, one of the most underutilized resources on campus. My professors always told me they were super lonely. No joke. They would tell me that a lot because no one would show up. They're literally required to sit in a designated location on campus to answer your questions weekly. So if you're confused about a paper or requirements for an exam or how to prepare for something, they're going to know the answer. They're the ones that created the exam and assigned that paper. So definitely utilize those. Go to class. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It flies by. If I could do my college career all over again, I would. So we are on the quarter system too. So missing a couple lectures is quite a lot of material. I don't say that to scare you. Obviously, if you're sick, that's different. But if you're like, yeah, I'm just not feeling class today, and there's not really a reason behind that, I would strongly advise against that as an advisor. And like I said, you don't get this time back. So all I'll say is attend class, and even if it's not your favorite class, it'll be over in 10 weeks. So think of it that way. Or if it's your favorite class, savor every moment because it's only 10 weeks. And lastly, the most important, follow us on Instagram because that's what we all care about. No, I'm just kidding. But we have our revamped Instagram and we do post important information on there. We do a weekly wellness series during the academic year that we all contribute to. So we really have worked hard to revitalize that. So please follow us there and join the Google group for more specific communications as well. So that can, oh yeah, couple more things here. We will be hosting grad check workshops. So this is just an advertisement now. We don't have dates for this yet, but these happen quarterly. And if you're wanting to know what you have left to graduate, how many requirements you have left, we will have these specific events for that reason. So making sure you're on track, you can meet with us specifically and get those things clarified so you're not missing a requirement when we're thinking we're about to graduate. That's what we don't want to have happen. And then a couple more things. Welcome week is the week before you all start class when you all will be moving in if you're living on campus. So we'll have another presentation on Tuesday, September 24th from 10 to 10:55 via Zoom. And we'll be going over some more specific information. Some of it will be repeated, but I highly encourage you all to attend. There will be some different information presented at that time. That's also the week before classes start, so you can get any last minute questions answered. We'll also be hosting a student experience panel, TBD on the date and time, but that will include your advising team because we're all alums and some of our peer advisors who are current students. So be on the lookout for that as well.